Welcome back to this series of Dark Reading Fast Chats. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining us now is Faki Faitelson, CEO, President, Co-founder, and Chairman of Varonis. Faki, thanks for joining us on this Fast Chat today.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
Let's start with just talking about, with so much security spending, why is it that we're still seeing these catastrophic breaches like the one we saw recently with classified documents that were leaked by that National Guard airman recently?
The reality, Terry, is that if you're going to dissect every data breach, almost always they can come from anywhere and any device, but always going in one direction, and this is the data direction. Bad actors want data, and this is where you have lasting damage. And what's going on today with organizations that they spend tremendous amount of money on a lot of security and many security tools, and also they need to hire a much more sophisticated people in order to maintain this stack. And there is just a lot of noise, but a lot of it is geared towards the perimeter and the network. And the main goal of every CISO is to protect the data, and the data is neglected. So most of the data that every employee in any organization can access is not relevant for him, and you have this tremendous blast radius. So you can maintain, on the perimeter, you can do 99% good job, and then you have one rogue insider or an APT that is really compromising the user of a machine, and you have massive amount of damage. And this is what you see again and again.
Well, it's like spam, right? You just need one to get through, and that's all the spammer needs. Nonetheless, the insider threat issue has plagued companies and organizations for decades now. From your perspective, what do you see as the key to stopping insider threats?
If you can do three things well, usually you will be protected. And if you will have damage, it will be very small. Making sure that you know where your critical digital assets, making sure that only the right people can access the right data at all times, and reliably identifying, alerting, and stopping abnormal behavior. If you can do that, most of the time, you will be protected.
Given all this, that so much of our critical data lives in the cloud, whether it's Microsoft 365, Salesforce, Google, Amazon. Does cloud-based data make it harder or easier to protect?
It's a very good question. Most of the time, much harder, because these SaaS applications, 365, Salesforce, and others, GitHub, they are geared towards collaboration. They are tremendous productivity tools with a lot of collaborations capabilities. But the byproduct that it creates tremendous tension between security and productivity, because end users are exposing massive amount of data. If you take terabyte of data on-prem and then versus the cloud, many times in the cloud, you have 10, 20 times more exposure. So now think what happened, like, the Uber attack, like just a simple MFA attack, you compromise the user, how much data they can access. The other big issue is the cloud, is the data path. You have API and third-party applications, so many ways to get into this system. So this is a big issue, and the only way to solve it is with tremendous automation.
Well, the other factor is it's rare that an organization has data on just one cloud provider. These implementations are typically multi-cloud, right?
Exactly. And it's not only a multi-cloud, it's multi-SaaS. You have many, you have a Salesforce.com and a GitHub and 365, a Workday instance of Box. You are using Zoom. There are just so many SaaS applications, and you have more of them, and they are interconnected, and this is just a massive problem. The other thing to remember is that the on-prem data is growing relentlessly and also not going anywhere. And you can see it evidently from all the ransomware attacks. So just data protection problem, if you extrapolate, understand how the data is growing, this is relentless growth on many platforms that geared towards collaboration. It's a massive problem.
Speaking of software as a service, Varonis's new SaaS platform is gaining traction despite a confused economy. Talk a bit about what's driving adoption there.
You know what we have done, and it required a lot of discipline. We started small 5 years ago. We have this self-hosted, very, very strong data protection platform, but we look at it and we said how we can take the bottlenecks for our customers to make sure that everything will be automated. The North Star was 10% of the effort, order of magnitude of the value, how everything will be automated and how we can expand the coverage to make sure that we are covering every place that you have critical data. And intensely we're focused on it. The beginning, as I said, we started small. In the last 3 years, we put 90% of the engineering resources, and it just worked extremely well. It's working as advertised. We are extremely excited with what is going on. And the excitement is primarily from these automated outcomes that our customers get. Terry, when you see a large organization and you install it and it automatically identifies all the critical data, and then we can understand any posture problem in Active Directory and all these SaaS applications, alert and stop any abnormal behavior. And then our robots are coming and doing this automated remediation. We cut 10 times, we measure 10 times and just cut once. And you see that, millions of files that are open to so many users you are now into 5% and you don't break any business process, and the CISO can come to the board and show them this was the risk. Now it's that. And in terms of the clarity of the alerts, if we say that there is something wrong, it's wrong. And you're finding these APTs and ransomware and rogue employees. And unfortunately, in a hard economy, the organization need to sometimes to let employees let's go. So at times, most employees are great, but at times you have, a small minority that are doing wrong things with information. We see that our customers can get massive value with almost doing nothing. At times it's very little effort. At times it's no effort at all. And it's really working. It was a multi-year effort and it's working extremely well. We are very excited about it.
All right. Varonis was also recently named a leader in Forrester's Wave for data security platforms. Apparently, data security is finally getting the attention and the status that it has deserved. What do you make of that? Why do you think that's happening now?
It's actually where we started the conversations. Attack can come from anywhere and any device, but always going in one direction, and it's the data. If you had a breach and no one touched data, nothing happened. If the data is in the wrong hands, you have what we call lasting damage. Without a very sophisticated data security platform, you can't solve the problem. And I believe that we are the gold standard for it. And we are, regardless of the macroeconomics, we are in a economy and a digital universe. And in order for organization to survive and thrive in this environment, you need to protect your data and you need to protect it through automation and coverage. And the only way to do it is to have a very sophisticated data security platform that is constantly innovating and up to date with all this data repository complexity and information growth that you see in the world.
Well, some great insights on both data security and SaaS security. Yaki, thanks for joining us on this Dark Reading Fast Chat today.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
We've been talking with Yaki Faitelson of Varonis. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading Fast Chat. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.